Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing.
Hi, this is Craig Milkowski at Timeform US here with a preview of the Grade 3 Suwannee River Stakes from Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Let's take a look at the field. It drew a pretty large field of 10, including the morning line favorite, the one-horse Scottish Star. I don't think there's any threat of rain or anything, so this course should be good to go on Saturday. And with that field, let's move over to the Timeform US pace projector and see how things shape up on the front end. You will notice that we have a couple of horses in there, the 1 and 3 battling for the early lead. It's a race that I do think is going to have a pretty hot pace. Bay Storm is a filly who's stretching out off a sprint. Scottish Star has shown some really fast races in her past performances. So let's start out with some of those horses in the Timeform US pace projector, and we'll take a look at a race that features Scottish Star. It was an allowance race from Keeneland back in October. She was the horse setting the lead on the front end. She gets run down late, as you'll see. The race also contains Spanish Vision, who fades back to 6. But Scottish Star is pretty game through the stretch here, just run down by one horse. What I found interesting about this race, as you'll see when we look at her PPs after we cross the finish line here, is that Scottish Star was the only real horse who was anywhere up near the pace in this race that finished decently. So it's kind of a bit of a conundrum, whereas Scottish Star, even though she was the only pace setter to run well, the others were all pretty good long shots in here. Unfortunately, it's a race where we don't have pace figures because it was a new distance or a new rail setting at Keeneland that they had never run before. We didn't have any baseline, but I still tend to lean towards it being a very solid performance from her. Let's move on and take a look at another replay from the horse we showed actually a little bit in front of Scottish Star in that pace projector, and that's Bay Storm, who is last seen in this race, the Grade 3 Mint Lady Sprint at Kentucky Downs, a 6.5 furlong race. And keep in mind, those races at Kentucky Downs are much longer than the published distance. They have very long run-ups. They also have some hills. So this is more like a 7 furlong race, I would say. And as we see, that's going to be kind of important. She gets run down by the Wesley Ward favorite. Campanelle actually doesn't quite catch her, just gets nosed out. But I thought it was a good effort, huge 121 pace figure. What's interesting with her is she's a horse who has never tried these 2 turns before, like we're going to see on Saturday, or at least if she has, not in a long time. She has high sprint speed. We can see she's always up close to the lead. With her, it's just the question of, can she handle the extra distance, and then how much pressure is she going to get from Scottish Star on that front end? Let's take a look at some more PP, some other horses who I think are going to lead to what should be a hot pace in this race. We'll start with Stolen Holiday. You don't see a lot of red fractions with Stolen Holiday, but what is interesting with her is she's won 4 races in her career. 1 was a sprint. The 3 times she's been in a route race, it's been in wire-to-wire fashion. We see 2 of those in her PPs. She's been allowed to set slow paces. We see the slow fraction, the blue color coding in both of those wins. She ran what would be competitive speed figures, but I think she's really going to have her work cut out for her because, as I noted, she's never really been able to win from off the pace, and it's hard to picture her being in the front in this race. Let's take a look at another race, another horse who's shown up in that pace projector in relative close attendance to the leaders, and that is the 9-horse Touch of Class. Touch of Class is one, doesn't quite have the same speed of Bay Storm, which we've seen from others in here, but it should be noted she has been mostly sprinting. You see that in 4 of her last 5 races. They're all sprints. The one time she tried a route, she went right to the lead, and she did so setting a pretty quick pace. So I think she is another one who could very well try to be on the front end. Now let's take a look at a horse who is likely to take advantage of this likely quick pace. We'll take a look at a replay from Lady Rockstar, the 10-horse. Here she's shown winning an allowance race at Belmont. She's a filly who looked really good in her first couple stateside starts. This is one of them here. She was able to take advantage of what was a pretty quick pace. She's a filly who is probably going to draw some money at the windows, not just due to the setup, but due to her connections in here. As we move on to her PP, she's being ridden by Irad Ortiz. I do think she had a bit of an excuse last time. You can see those 2 debut wins. I say debut in North America. She won at Churchill easily. She won the race we just saw at Belmont easily. She struggled a little bit in the race at Monmouth, the Grade 3 matchmaker, where she didn't get as much pace to run into. Her speed figure still was pretty good. It was tougher company that day. This just seems like a spot that's really going to be nice for her. Get a good setup, a little bit of class relief from that last time. Let's move on. A couple other horses I wanted to take a look at. We'll start with the past performances of Diamond Wow. Mainly, she's a filly who has been sprinting as well. She kind of has a mix in there. I think she could be a pace factor. She does draw Joel Rosario in here, a guy who's always going to take money, but she seems like a filly who's going to have to take a pretty big jump. You'll note she doesn't have a single triple-digit speed figure, whether routing, sprinting, dirt, turf, synthetic. So it seems like she's a cut below these to me. One last horse we'll take a look at is is Keeper of Time. She's a horse who has a little bit of trouble in her PPs, I would say. She was shown routing the third, fourth, and fifth starts back here. She tried to sprint the last couple times, and those are races where she's run okay, but I'm not sure she's really cut out to be a sprinter. They were 6 furlong sprints. She didn't get a ton of pace in here. I think she could maybe improve a little bit on the stretch out in here, back to the route where she's run her best speed figures. It's going to have her work cut out because there are some faster horses. But that's it. Let's take a look at my selections for this race. We'll start. My top pick is going to be Lady Rockstar. No big surprise. I do suspect she's going to take money, but it's hard for me to imagine she's not going to get a great pace set up in here. Just plenty of speed signed on, as we showed. She gets a great rider for that coming off the pace in Irad Ortiz, and just one that's going to be really tough to beat. I went with Scottish Star in second. I think she's going to have the speed and a little bit more tactical ability than Base Storm to maybe lay off of that one and finish off, but don't see her holding off the 10 Lady Rockstar.